If you love me, please don't judge me. Got my hands tied, the power's above me. Don't shoot the messenger, I'm just a puppet here. If you wanna place blame, then look to the puppeteer. Family, fortune, envy, jealousy, privilege, passed on, legacy, secret, sabotage, borderline, felony, suicide, subtract, selfish, pedigree, yeah.
How's it going, everybody? It's C-RadTV back here with another video. So, of course, it's time to continue on to What If NASCAR Had the F1 Points Format series. So, the last time in this series, we wrapped up the ARCA East side of the series by taking a look at the ARCA East series from 2010. So, we're that a couple things would have changed, but a few things stayed the same for sure. And in this part, we're going to start the next branch of this What If series by taking a look at the ARCA series. So, since we took a look at ARCA West and ARCA East, only fair that now we go to the main ARCA series, the Mecca ARCA series. So, for the ARCA series, we're going to start this one from 1979 on to present day, because 1979 was the furthest I could go back when doing this. So, every champion from 1950, what year did they start? So, every year champion from 1953 to 1978 will remain the same. I do think at some point, and maybe next year at some point, I might go back in some of these series I couldn't go back to all the way and try and figure it out here if I can get some more sources for it. But anyway, we're going to start from 1979 on to see what would have changed and what would have stayed the same in the ARCA series had they used the F1 Points Format series. So yeah. And before we start this, make sure you also check out the NASCAR with F1 Points Twitter and Instagram pages for exclusive NASCAR with F1 Points content. I post exclusive content there every day, so if you want to check that out, go for it. And I'll also be posting the 2021 points for NASCAR this year there too. So yeah, make sure you check those out. But yeah, anyway, of course, on the screen is the points format we'll be using for this part here. So yeah, you all know how this points format goes. And before we continue on, let me once again stress out that this is just a hypothetical scenario. I know everyone would have raced differently had they used the F1 Points format. This is just for fun. So now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and let's jump right into it. So for the 1979 season, it was mainly a two-man battle for the championship between Marvin Smith and Moose Myers. Those two were the class of the field all season in terms of speed and consistency. In the end, though, Moose Myers would fail to be consistent in key moments of the year when it mattered the most. Marvin Smith would take full advantage of it and would pull away late in the season. And Marvin Smith, he would lock up what would be his second ARCA championship under this format with 2 races to go in the season. So Marvin Smith would still win his second title in 1979. So in the 1980 season, we would see 4 drivers separate themselves from the rest of the field, and those 4 being Bob Daughter, Marvin Smith, Billy Harvey, and John Resnick. Those 4 were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. In the end, late in the season, John Resnick and Billy Harvey would fail to be consistent in key moments of the year when it mattered the most. Those 2 would be eliminated with around a race to go in the season. So in the end, the championship will go all the way down to the season finale at Michigan, with Bob Daughter entering with a 3-point lead over Marvin Smith. So it was a very close title fight between the two. So for Bob Daughter, he just needed to stay close to Marvin Smith to win the title. For Marvin Smith, he needed to finish a couple spots ahead of Bob Daughter to win the championship. In the end, though, it really didn't matter too much, since neither Daughter or Marvin Smith finished inside the top 6 and didn't score any points in the finale at Michigan, in a very anticlimactic finale. So in the end, Bob Daughter would end up winning the 1980 ARCA championship by default, so Bob Daughter would still win the championship under this format in 1980. So the 1981 season, it was all about Marvin Smith. Marvin was just a class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. Like, nobody could match up to Marvin Smith. And Marvin Smith, he would easily cruise to the 1981 ARCA Championship under this format. So the 1982 championship, it would have been a two-man battle for the title between Scott Stovall and Marvin Smith. Those two were the class of the field all season in terms of speed and consistency. It was a very close championship between the two that in the end, the championship will go all the way down to the season finale at Sandusky Speedway, with Scott Stovall entering with a 1-point lead over Marvin Smith. So, pretty much for the finale, whoever finished ahead of the other would end up winning the championship. That's how it's set up. But in the end, in the season finale, Marvin Smith ran throughout much of the top 10 for most of the race, while Scott Stovall ran up front for a good chunk of the race. In the end, though, Marvin Smith would end up finishing 7th in the finale, but Scott Stovall, he would do everything he would need to, and he would end up winning the race. And that win would be more than enough for Scott Stovall to win the 1982 ARCA Championship over Marvin Smith by 10 points. So Scott Stovall would still win the 1982 ARCA Championship under this format. So the 1983 championship, it would have been a three-man battle for the championship between Bob Daughter, Bill Venturini, and Marvin Smith. Those three were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. In the end, though, Bill Venturini and Marvin Smith would fail to be consistent in key moments of the season when it mattered the most, and Bob Daughter would take full advantage of it with pole way late in the season, and Bob Daughter would lock up the championship with a race to go in the season. So Bob Daughter would still win the 1983 ARCA Championship under this format. So for the 1984 season, it was mainly a two-man battle for the championship between Bill Venturini and Davey Allison. Those two were the class of the field all season. It was a very close championship between the two that in the end, the championship battle would go all the way down to the season finale in Macon at Middle Georgia, with Davey Allison entering with a 2-point lead over Bill Venturini. So it's pretty much set up to where whoever finished the highest would end up winning the championship. So in the season finale, both Davey and Bill Venturini contended for the win throughout the race. By the end of the race, it was set up to where whoever won the race would end up winning the championship. And in the end, Davey Allison would end up holding Bill Venturini off at the end. Davey would go on to win the season finale while Bill Venturini would finish second. And the win would be more than enough for Davey Allison to lock up the championship over Bill Venturini by 5 points. So Davey Allison would be the 1984 ARCA champion under this format. So for the 1985 season, it was one of those weird seasons where there wasn't a clear-cut dominant driver all season. Like, there was a number of drivers you could have made a case for the championship in 1985. In the end, no, we would have 7 drivers separate themselves from the rest of the field, and those 7 being Lee Raymond, Bill Venturini, Davey Allison, David Simcoe, Bobby Jacks, Bob Schatt, and Ed Hage. Those 7 would be the class of the field in terms of speed and consistency, as those 7 would contend for the championship. In the end, though, not everyone can compete for the title, as Ed Hage, Bob Schatt, Bobby Jacks, and David Simcoe would all fail to be consistent in key moments of the season when it mattered the most. And they would be eliminated with around a race or 2 to go in the season. So in the end, the championship would go all the way down to the season finale in Toledo, with Davey Allison entering with a 3-point lead over Lee Raymond and an 8-point lead over Bill Venturini. So for Lee Raymond, he has to finish a couple spots ahead of Davey to win the title. Bill Venturini, he would effectively need to win the race, and we need Davey Allison to finish 7th or worse to lock up the title. And you would need Lee Raymond to finish almost outside the points as well, too, for that to work. For Davey Allison, he just has to stay close to Lee Raymond and hope Lee doesn't win the race to win the championship. In the season finale at Toledo, Bill Venturini, he would struggle throughout the race and get involved in an incident. Venturini would finish in 12th in the finale, 3 laps down, so that officially eliminates him from the title battle. And then Lee Raymond, he ran around the top 10 like he just didn't have speed in the finale at Toledo, and Raymond would finish 10th 2 laps down. While Davey Allison, he would go on to finish 4th in the finale and do everything he would need to lock up the title. And that 4th place finish would be more than enough for Davey Allison to beat Lee Raymond for the championship by 6 points. I should also mention on the final points, Ed Hage won the season finale at Toledo, and that win would leapfrog Ed Hage ahead of Bill Venturini in the points. So the 1986 season, it would mainly be a two-man battle for the championship between Lee Raymond and Grant Adcox. Those two were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. In the end, though, Grant Adcox would fail to be consistent in key moments of the season when it mattered the most. Lee Raymond would take full advantage of it and would pull away late in the season. And Lee Raymond would lock up the 1986 ARCA Championship with a race to go in the season. So Lee Raymond would still be the 1986 ARCA champion. So the 1987 season, it was all about Bill Venturini. Bill was just a class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. Like nobody was on Bill Venturini's level in 1987. And Bill Venturini, he would go on and easily cruise to the 1987 ARCA Championship. So the 1988 championship, it was mainly a two-man battle for the championship between Tracy Leslie and Bob Keselowski. Now, Grant Adcox was also part of this too, but sadly, not everyone could compete for a championship, and he would fall out late in the season. So it was between Leslie and Keselowski for the most part. Very close title battle between the two that in the end, the championship battle would go all the way down to Atlanta Motor Speedway at the season finale, with Tracy Leslie entering with a 1-point lead over Bob Keselowski. So it was set up in the finale to where whoever finished the highest would end up winning the championship. In the season finale at Atlanta, both drivers ran out front for a good chunk of the race. In the end, though, Bob Keselowski would end up finishing 4th in the finale, but Tracy Leslie, he would do everything he would need to and would finish 1 spot ahead of Keselowski in 3rd. And that 3rd place finish would be more enough for Tracy Leslie to edge out Bob Keselowski for the 1988 ARCA Championship by only 2 points. So Leslie would still win the championship in 1988. So the 1989 championship, it would mainly be a 3-man battle for the championship between Bob Keselowski, Bob Strait, and Ben Hess. Those three were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. It was very close between the three, but in the end, late in the season, Ben Hess would fail to be consistent in key moments of the season when it mattered the most, and he would be eliminated with around a race to go in the season. So in the end, the championship will go all the way down to the season finale at Atlanta, with Bob Keselowski entering with a 1-point lead over Bob Strait. So for this one, it was simply whoever finished the highest against the other in the points in the race would end up winning the championship. But in the end, that wouldn't have even mattered since neither Keselowski or Strait would finish inside the top 6. So neither of them scored points in the finale, in a very anticlimactic finale. Hey, it happens. So in the end, it means that Bob Keselowski would win the 1989 ARCA Championship by default. So Bob Keselowski would still win the 1989 ARCA Championship. But yeah, anyway, that's going to wrap it up here for this part of the What If series. So we've had quite a few things would have happened under the F1 points format in ARCA in the 80s. So yeah, in terms of championship battles that would go down to the season finale, we had 6 championship battles go down to the season finale in this part under the F1 points format. And we had 3 title changes under this format, those being in 1981, 1984, and 1985. So we had quite a few things would have changed under the F1 points format in ARCA in the 80s, but a number of things stayed the same, and 1979 stayed the same as well. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this part. So of course, next time on this series, we're going to be taking a look at the ARCA series again, but taking a look at it in the 90s to see what would have changed and what would have stayed the same under the F1 points format. So yeah, anyway, that's going to wrap it up. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, for like 1953 to 1978, I plan on going over those seasons, but at a later time and date, probably in 2022 for Phase 4. Same deal with like ARCA East and any other series where I wasn't able to go back all the way. I'll do those seasons at a later time. But for now, we're going to do this timeline and go forward here for Phase 3 and continue on. But yeah, anyway, that's going to wrap it up here. That's all I got to say. The next part will come out depending on how fast I make it and how fast I do my research and all that stuff. But yeah, anyway, that's going to wrap it up here. That's all I got to say. Hope everyone has a great day, and I'll see you all whenever I make next. Peace.